Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. Second day.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ni hao. Buenos dias.
Ni hao. So,
Kamsahamnida. Konnichiwa.
so I realized the hardest part about this job here is to be able to ask the questions that others haven't asked him before, right? Because I've studied a lot of your videos, and the good thing is a lot has happened in the last couple weeks. So why don't we start there? I think everyone here wants to hear your perspective on what's been happening. Tell us a little bit more about how you're thinking about the industry and what's happening.
So, I've given a lot of thought to Web3, and it's interesting. I have not, a lot of people have come to me with startups and they all say they're Web3, and they could be doing everything from medical or rockets or whatever, and they're all saying they're Web3. But what they're really saying is we're about to go through an anthropological leap forward. This is all of you entrepreneurs out there, anybody who's in any way associated with growth and startups and improving freedom and trust around the world, are having a really fundamental change. We are going through a fundamental change, and there's going to be a lot of friction. And I think the most important thing are for the people who are doing Web3 startups to just keep your heads down, keep working, keep driving, and move forward, and you'll end up with a world that we all want to be in 5 or 10 years. Right now, this is it's sort of a critical time for the world, and you see the weak leaders trying to control everybody, and you see the strong leaders setting people free and trusting people. And the weak leaders are, it used to be that. Well, I'll go through my strong leader, weak leader thing. Trusting people and setting them free is good management. It is good. It's good for startups. It's good for big companies. It's good for governments. And I'm going to get to decentralization in a second. But my best example is Korea, because Korea was split in half. There was North Korea and South Korea. North Korea had a government that decided to control everybody and tell everybody what to do, and they were, Marxist, socialist, communist group, and all those people worked along that program. In South Korea, they set people free, they trusted them, they built a democracy, they were capitalistic, they were free market, open borders. And today, it's been 70 years. Today, the average South Korean now makes 460 times what the average North Korean makes, and the average South Korean is now 4 inches taller than the average North Korean. So it's pretty clear to me that people will thrive if you set them free, if you trust them and set them free. So I take that to, okay, that's sort of the big picture. And so there are countries, and they're sort of competing for us. Some are putting down and saying, with weak leaders, are saying, no, you all have to do exactly what we tell you to do. And some are saying, we trust you, we're going to set you free. And we have a new technology now, and it started with Bitcoin, and now the blockchain smart contracts and DAOs that are set to completely transform society. And the weak governments are the ones saying, oh, we have to stop this, it's a horrible thing, what are we doing? I want to keep controlling people with my own currency and my own banking system and my own whatever. And then there are the strong governments, strong leaders who are saying, let's embrace this. Let's trust our people. Let's set them free, and let's build something of great value. And 40 years from now, those governments are going to be the ones that make 460 times what the other governments are making, and are the ones who are 4 inches taller. So we're going into it right now. In China, President Xi has he's a weak leader. He's just weak. He's trying to control everybody and tell them all what to do. And all the best entrepreneurs are leaving China, coming here to Florida. And when people say decentralization, and why is that good? Why is decentralization good? What does that really mean? And I say, well, okay, I'll start with centralization. Centralization is President Putin. President Putin, one guy, decided how to ruin the lives of 200 million people. And that's centralized decision-making, that's centralized authority, that's centralized whatever. Centralized currency is the same kind of thing. And we need decentralized currency. If you have centralized currency, let's say you guys have a lot of dollars. If the government prints $10 trillion, your dollars are now worth 82 cents. So why do we allow this centralization in something that could be decentralized? Now it is decentralized with Bitcoin and some of the other cryptocurrencies. We have a major opportunity to completely transform society, have these governments recognize that they are in competition for us, if they are accountable to us. And I think we're about to go through that major period now. And you're going to see the weak leaders trying to control everything and pull it all in and say, no, you have to do this. And you're going to see the strong leaders thrive and rise and become the ones who trust their people and set them free. So that's the beginning.
Okay.
That was one very short question, a very long answer.
No, this is great. Well, let's get started. How do you view the macro cycle today? Do you believe in the macro cycle like Ray Dalio does, every 10 years? And we're seeing the interest rates rising in the U.S.?
I don't know. I read Ray Dalio's first book, and it was all about the rise of China. And China looks like they're going back down into the dark ages with this president. And I think Ray got that one wrong. But I think we are going to see some transformations in the macro level where countries that you've kind of never heard of, like El Salvador or Central African Republic or probably Switzerland and Malta, rise like crazy because they're so big in crypto, that they're making Bitcoin national currency. They're encouraging their people to build smart contracts. They're setting up DAOs for, as alternatives to the corporate structure. DAOs are going to be really interesting because with a corporate structure, you help the owners of corporate structure are the founders, the employees, the investors of a company. They are the shareholders. Eventually it goes public and then the public can participate. But with a DAO, you can give tokens to your suppliers and your early customers and your community. And if Amazon were set up like a DAO, people wouldn't have that schadenfreude. They wouldn't be so bitter about having people make a lot of money because they were hugely successful in building a great business. Like Bezos, he gets picked on by the media, but I can get a toothbrush in 4 hours because of Amazon. We love Amazon. We think they're awesome. But people are going, why is he so rich and I'm not? Well, it's because he built Amazon. And I didn't. And we've got to appreciate that, but I think that if he were able to give out DAO tokens to his suppliers and his early customers and his other customers and his community, I think there would be a lot less of that sort of bitterness that he made money and I didn't.
So do you think that next year we're looking at a potential recession, or from the macro cycle wise, where do you think we're going in the world globally?
So I think we're going into a recession, and it does sort of shake things up. A lot of things happen in a recession. It turns out that the people who innovate during a recession do very, very well when the next boom comes. But recessions happen. It's interesting, these cycles are because we've got centralized currency. How do you like that? We're stuck with a Fed. And if the Fed screws up, or if the government prints $10 trillion and then the Fed says, uh-oh, we're going to have inflation, and then they raise interest rates, then we have a recession. It just happens. People get poorer. They have to lay people off. They have to, a lot of people lose their jobs during that time. Some horrible stories of horrible things that happen, and it's all because of this centralization. But the good news is that when you have a recession like this, when you have that, the first thing that happens is, there's turmoil. People don't know what's going on. People try to shore up their companies. They lay people off. They have to cut salaries sometimes. They have to do a lot of things. And then all those people who are laid off, a lot of great people, start thinking, I can beat that company. And they start with technology that's like 10 years more advanced than technology that was started for their old company. They start with people who are no longer spoiled. They've been down in the dumps for a while, and they've been saying, well, gee, I'll work for free for a while. I just want to work. And then they build a culture in that company that becomes permanent in the company. And it's no coincidence that 30 out of the 31 most valuable companies in the world were started 2 years or 3 years after a bear market. So they started in the depths of a recession. That's when the biggest companies were all started. And so look at it that way. This is a major opportunity, and Web3 is a major part of that opportunity. I mean, if we're going to go through a human transformation, we're going to go through this anthropological leap. A unicorn will be redefined as a $1 trillion company. And we're going to start seeing $10 trillion companies. We're going to see, the internet was really amazing, and it transformed communications, information, gaming, entertainment, media, taxis, hotels. But Bitcoin and the blockchain and smart contracts have the potential to transform the biggest industries in the world. Not just currency, but banking, finance, insurance, real estate, government itself.
And let's talk about that Bitcoin cycle, right? It's no secret that you're a big supporter of Bitcoin. We've seen a few of these cycles play out. Do you believe in the cycle of this every 4 years of Bitcoin halving? And how do you think that affects the industry?
Yeah, the halving is a phenomena that was set up by Satoshi. I guess he was a centralized force at that time. The halving could have been smoothed out to day by day, but he did it that way. And so you will have artificial booms and busts in the Bitcoin economy. But I am one of these hodlers, hold on for dear life, and I'm also a total believer, true believer, because I believe that that we have a new currency, and it is decentralized, it's open, it's transparent, and once all the accounting is put together, and once all the people can buy things at retail, I think we're going to see a major transformation where the people don't need, as soon as people don't need fiat currency anymore, they're not going to want it. Why have a centralized currency when you can have a decentralized currency? Why hold dollars when you know that tomorrow they're going to be worth less, rather than holding Bitcoin, which you know is going to be held more, is going to be worth more over time. So yeah, the cycles are like this, and people say, oh, but it's very volatile. And then I say, oh, well, wait a second, one Bitcoin is still worth one Bitcoin. There are only 21 million of them. And all the other currencies are very volatile as they slowly disappear from use. And I remember my dad giving me $1 million in Confederate money, Confederate dollars. And I said, whoa, this is great, what can I do with it? And he goes, nothing. And I think fiat currency is going to go that way. And I think there will be a moment, and it's very volatile, fiat currency, because it's going, whoa, should I still be around or maybe not? Or yeah, sure, still be around, maybe not. And the halvening adds to that volatility. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, you look and you go, oh, hey, we're sort of right in the middle of those two, between the two halvenings. This may be a pretty good time to buy it.
Right, and you actually did that in 2014, right? And that was really early on.
I actually bought it in 2011.
2011.
And I lost it all.
Right,
to
in
Mt. Gox. And I thought that was too bad, because I thought, wow, this is a new currency. And you know, people say, well, what's special about a new currency? Well, it's the fascination here is that it is liquidity. I can easily, if I have to send money to somebody in Africa today who's done some service for me, I got to go through a bank and a transfer and a something else and a something else, different currencies, all that stuff. Or I can just pull out my wallet and send them Bitcoin, and it's done. And it's accepted everywhere. And so now we have this valuable vehicle that is creating more liquidity in the world. And you have more liquidity in the world, everybody gets richer. And that's why we went from trading shells to trading gold, to trading the promise of gold, to trading the full faith and credit of government. And now there is something that is even better and faster. And each time there was that leap, that currency leap, the world got incredibly much richer. And so that's going to happen again.
So going back in time, when you purchased in 2014, I think I saw $18 million at $600 per Bitcoin. But when I saw in that cycle in 2015, it went down to $200.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I was clearly the stupidest guy, and I bought at the highest price ever.
But tell us about what did you think in 2015, right? And because that gives a perspective for everyone else that maybe come in.
Okay, so here's what happened. I bought in 2011. I had a whole bunch of Bitcoin. It was not worth very much at the time, $6. And I had it at Mt. Gox. And I thought, well, yeah, it's the biggest exchange. And it was at Mt. Gox. And it just got disappeared. I don't know exactly what happened to it. But it disappeared, and I was sort of disappointed that was the end of a really cool new digital currency. But I knew there would be a digital currency. I didn't know what it would be. But Bitcoin only dropped about 15% on that news. And I thought, whoa, biggest exchange, only dropped 15%. People need this stuff. And then I did a deep dive, and I figured out exactly how people are using this. And while the press was all talking about how it's all being used for nefarious purposes and blah, 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 I figured out that it was being used to do remittances and payments to people that didn't have bank accounts, and companies who couldn't figure out how to pay people because they didn't have bank accounts. And all of a sudden I thought, oh my gosh, this is really important. And so when that big auction came up and the U.S. Marshal's Office took that money and auctioned it off, I thought, well, you know, I'll pay above market here because it's either going to really be worth a lot or it's not going to be worth anything. And I bought more than I thought I was going to buy. There were 9 lots, and I thought maybe I'd get 1 or 2. I got all 9.
You got all 9, yeah.
So because I guess nobody else thought the way I did, that if I pay above market, it won't matter. Right. You know, whether it was, you know, 580 or 632, it didn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, so far it's turned out on the upside. And hey, we just lost another huge trading platform in FTX, and Bitcoin dropped about 15%. And you look around, people are using it for so much more. People have asked me, well, you know, what about some of these other currencies? And I say, well, they're all great, but in a bear market, in a recession, when things are bad, there's a flight to quality. And if you're setting up a retail store and you say, okay, I want to take, I'm not going to say I'm going to take FTT tokens. I'm going to say I'm going to take Bitcoin. You know, we accept FTT? I don't think so. You know, we accept Bitcoin. Yes, they will do that. And so naturally, most of the value will flow to Bitcoin, and it's just decentralized. I mean, you know, some of the other currencies are still tied to one person, just as FTT was. So when you see, I mean, if you get excited about a token, figure out if it's decentralized or not, and figure out how many people are working to make it more successful. And all those engineers are doing great things, and they're really starting to transform the entire economy. I mean, you don't do that overnight. You don't transform the entire banking system, finance, insurance, real estate, government. You don't transform those overnight. It takes a long time. And so so I'm kind of this, you know, crazy believer.
Yeah.
Where I see a world that is so much better than what we've got now, and it's coming, and it's based on all of you. It's based on all those people working hard to make. You know, one other thing, I was talking to these government leaders from El Salvador, and I'm in the Silicon Valley, and we feel like we see everything, know everything. You know, any new technology, we think it's. Of course, it's coming through us. And I met with these guys, and suddenly I was jealous. I was thinking, oh my gosh, they're talking about how all these smart contracts are being developed, how they're being taxed in Bitcoin, how they're, you know, and think about that. If you're a smart government and you trust your people, yeah, you want to tax in Bitcoin. It's automatic. It'd be so much easier. And then the accounting is done. It's all automatic. It's all done. You don't need the accountant, the auditor, the bookkeeper, the whatever. And with all those ridiculous regulations that keep piling on top of us, do you realize that I am now spending 20 times what I did for accounting that I did 10 years ago.
20 times.
20 times. And it's all because government just keeps chipping away and adding more things for us to like check boxes and do things for. And 20 times. And if suddenly the whole thing were automated, you know, we have a company, Cryptio, that does that. They automate the accounting. But if it were all automated, then I wouldn't need to do any of that.
Right.
Because it's all right there.
Right.
Here, this is what we made, this is what we did. It's here, go ahead, tax it.
Right. Yeah. Last word of advice for everyone kind of going through the cycle, going through the crypto winter, or there's no winter in Miami, but.
I think it's keep working hard, dedicate yourself to something important, and just have a belief in yourself that it's going to come out the other end and it's going to be great. I would keep working hard even if you're not in a job. If you lose a job, keep working hard. If you have a job, work a little bit harder. I think during times like this, it's great to just really pour it on and throw yourself into your company and make great things happen. And then we're going to see the world I hope we end up seeing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Please give it up for Timothy Draper. Thank you.